Welcome to another episode of the Lone Recruiter Podcast. I'm your host, Brett Clemenson, and if you're a recruiter out on your own or just lacking general guidance or mentorship, you've come to the right place. Our episodes are designed to give you the motivation, the strategies, and the support you need to become the very best lone recruiter. So join us, grab a cup of coffee, and I've got a brand new Keep Cup, and let's take this test to another level. Now today, I'm on my quest to interview 100 recruiters. So today, we are lucky enough to be joined by the one, the only, Richard Barrett. How you going?
Not too bad. About yourself?
Very good, mate. Very good. This is an interesting one for me because typically when we're interviewing recruiters, it's white collar, contingent, perm, placement focus for these recruiters. Richard is actually my cousin, and he's been doing a fantastic job up in Queensland. He does a lot of blue collar rail labour hire recruitment, and has done so for many years now, and kicking absolute goals and smashing what he does. But it's so different to what I do. So I'm genuinely curious what these answers will bring to us. But look, in your own words, Richard, 60 seconds. What do you do? Who do you work for? How'd you fall into it? Let's go.
Yeah. Basically, yes, I finished my uni degree, moved to Brisbane, was working in a bottle shop actually, and basically I'd spoken to a workmate of mine and just said I was interested in recruitment. She said, oh, actually, I've got a friend who's looking for a recruiter at the moment, working for Australian Recruiting. Took the interview the next day, had a job the next week. Basically started in recruitment. That was 8 years ago, and haven't looked back. Started doing basically like demolition and construction side of things, like on the labour hire. Mm-hmm. Moved into civil construction, and then from there moved into doing rail, which is it's a very different industry than what you sort of work in, mate. That's for sure.
Yeah, you know what? Like same but different, right? Like we're still just trying to find solutions for clients and people to do a job. It's just a different pace, and it's a different margin, and yeah, like, you know, it's super interesting. So let's get into it. And correct me if these questions don't fit you, but if you're a listener at home, you know what I'm doing here. I'm asking 100 recruiters the same 5 questions. I really want to understand what those similarities might be. So if you are a labour hire or a blue collar recruiter listening to this one might be interesting too, because you're probably thinking half the stuff you talk about, but it does not apply to me. So, you know, enlighten the audience. We'll kick off. So the first question is, if you had one KPI to measure how successful your desk was, what would that KPI be?
Yeah, so I guess with the labour hire side of things, it's not just about placements. It's actually just about like what we call hours. So it's how many hours the workers are working per week. So I could have 30 workers out doing 800 hours a week between them, or I could have 50 workers out doing 800 between them. It doesn't really matter how many placements I have. It matters how many hours, because that's what we bill off. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. And do you find that challenging in terms of getting them a full week's worth of, like, what's the biggest challenge within that for you?
It depends on the client. Basically, look, it can be very helpful. Basically, because you can put a placement out and they can still be out there 6 months later, and they just set and forget. Then there's other ones that are massive turnover, which you're refilling it every 3-4 weeks when the person finds out, oh, I don't really like this job, I want to move on, all that sort of stuff. But it is I guess sort of that side of it is the difficult part, but you can also really build your hours as you go. If you're on fire, you can be really on fire, and life is easy.
I love it. So with that KPI, and sorry to dwell on it, but is your target 800 hours a week? Is that the target you give yourself?
No, so generally I give myself 1,000. 1,000 is the number. If I'm hitting that, I'm doing quite well. 1,500 is I can take a Friday off.
I love it. And does that, as you say, like if you get a really good run on where you've got big projects ahead and these people are going, well, I can stick around for 6 months. Does that change next week? If you've hit 1,500 hours and you go, well, that's actually booked for the next month. Do you keep working or do you go on holidays? What happens there?
It basically, if you keep working, you'll keep going good. If you rest on your laurels, which I may have been a little bit guilty of in the past, you find out a month later that you need to work doubly as hard.
I love it. Okay. That's super interesting to me. Second question. If you could only ask 3 interview questions, what would they be? And is that question even relevant? I know you've got to interview people, but walk me through your process. That's a lot of bodies you've got to get on site.
Yeah, definitely. I guess sort of with these ones, really, it is experience. Especially with rail industry, it is, how long have you been in the industry for? Who have you worked with? That side of things. Like that's the main experience. And then there's also, I guess, sort of different types of rail as well. There's maintenance, there's construction, there's level crossing removal, all that sort of stuff. So it all depends on what they're good at. And also, I guess from there, it's when are you available? Because these are clients need these people on this exact date, and
Right.
there is no wiggle room. There is, are you available on this date? If not, cool. I'll come back to me when you're available, sort of situation.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's really, they're the two main ones, and also have you got all your tickets? That's the big one. Like, have you got all your qualifications ready to roll?
I mean, a lot of recruiters I interview, you go, oof, only 3 questions, but it's almost like you only need 3 questions.
Yep. It is basically the 3. There isn't too much more to it, and it's basically about almost them trying to sell me essentially as to what they want to do, like to show me that they can actually do the job.
Wonderful. So then the third question I typically ask people is, what's your favorite closing line or sequence or question or whatever, but do you view securing people in that manner, like it's about securing them?
I've sort of got the exact opposite issue that the rest of the industry has at the moment. I've got too many workers and not enough jobs at the moment. That's
Okay.
everyone else I know in the blue collar side of things is there's not enough workers and too many jobs. It's a very different world, that's for sure.
And is that because do you specialize in a region, like an area?
Yeah, so I guess sort of Victoria Rail. There's they are very well paid. That is, I guess, sort of one side of it. There are people who work in, I guess, sort of the civil industry, like civil construction. That really, I guess, sort of like the stepping stone. They work in civil, they then get their tickets, and they move into rail because that's where the big dollars are. That's where people working 3-4 shifts a week are on 100K plus easy as a labourer, and it's
So got some good unions
that's where
down
they
there?
want to be.
Good unions?
Yes, everyone's unionized. It does actually kind of make things. It's good and bad. There are good and bad sides. Everyone's paid the same, so there's no fights about who's getting paid what. That's the main thing.
Yep.
But yeah,
Yep.
and,
So then
and everyone knows everyone.
So do you have a closing sequence then with candidates? Like, I appreciate it's very different. You've got a set rate and it's like take it or leave it.
Pretty much.
How do you do that when you've got a good candidate? Let's just say times are good again and you've got a ton of projects on and it is hard to get candidates. Like, what is your process then to get these guys committed to a month or a couple of months of work?
Basically, it's just are you 100%? Again, it's like have you got? I guess depending on the project, there could be big hours. Have they got kids? Have they got have they got holidays coming up? Have they got just making sure that they are available like for that time, because if they're not available, the client's going to want a replacement for whenever they're not available, and that's double my job. So it's about that time commitment. There is, I guess, sort of the big one is just making sure that they are available all the time for those shifts.
I recall one Christmas when we were catching up that you joked that this was early on in your career, you've never met so many people who didn't show up for work and their excuse was diarrhea.
That's one of the main ones. So I don't get that anymore these days. That's more like your demolition and construction side of things. But there's a flat tire, diarrhea, cat had kittens or something. You hear some very interesting ones.
You do. And how many of them do you believe?
0.
Okay. Do you get counteroffer in your line of work? Does that happen?
No, basically our sort of counter offers or our offers go when we tender for our works. We have to it's more dealing with the client. In a sense, I'm negotiating for all the candidates at one time, because everyone gets paid exactly the same on the same level, whatever they're doing. So it's down to negotiating with the client about what they're willing to take and what they're willing to pay.
That's super interesting. And you're saying in terms of counteroffer, they might then go to a different provider and go, nah, they've got a full workforce that's
Correct.
cheaper.
Yeah, it could go out to that, and then it is. But essentially, I've got a good workforce, that side of things, and so having that, I guess, sort of behind me does give me a little bit of an advantage over them when it comes to saying this is the price, this is what you got to pay.
Yeah. Okay. So interesting. I find that super interesting. So your counteroffer isn't with the individual candidates. It is what it is.
No.
It's black and white. Here's the rate. Whatever.
They're all under EBAs with like different companies as well. We haven't specifically got one ourselves, but I read their EBAs and I basically just pay them a bit more than that, just so I've got the advantage. And
you heard that. You heard it first here, Ricky. Richard will pay you a little bit more than the competition. He's good at negotiating with the client. So go and work with Richard at ARG. There you go. Okay, fantastic. Look, this one is applicable to you. We're recruiters, we're in sales, there's highs, there's lows, there's frustrations, there's good times, there's bad times. But how do you pull yourself out of a slump? Whether that's a work slump, whether that's an emotional slump, what is your go-to habit or activity?
I'm not actually too sure, to be honest with you. Like I look at it and go, I just get that internal feeling of I just have to do better. Like this isn't going the way I want it to. I just have to be better in every aspect, and then basically just sort of if I haven't got enough jobs on, I'll go see if anyone else needs a hand with filling jobs and take at least, it might be a smaller commission, but hey, it's commission while I'm waiting for my other clients to come back to me.
And knowing Richard as well as I do, being family. He's eternally optimistic, more so than I am. I've never met a happier person in my entire life.
Look, I do have a positive outlook on it. There's I always like to think, doesn't matter if you're on a bit of a slump, then if you work hard for, it could be 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, you're going to be best. Like, you're going to be better off in that 3 month time if you're working hard at it. Like you're not going to go backwards if you're working hard at it. So it's pretty much within 3 months you can be killing it again and
Absolutely.
Playing golf on Fridays.
I love it. As you did last Friday.
I did.
All right, look, Richard, that was amazing. I actually got a lot out of that, and I hope you guys at home got a lot out of that as well. So thank you for jumping on. We'll leave it at that. That's all we have time for you today. If you haven't done so already, not you, Richard, actually you, Rich, if you haven't done this already, give me a 5-star review on Spotify, on Apple Podcast, on YouTube, wherever you're listening to this. Go now, give us a 5-star review. It really, 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 really helps us grow. And we're doing this for free, out of absolute sheer love. And, the thing that drives us is knowing that we're providing great quality stuff. So go and do it. We really, really do appreciate it. As always, have an amazing day, and may all your deals or ours come true.